Hi everybody, don't click away. You're probably thinking, how could a World War II shooter have anything in common with a survival game set in the early 2000s in a kind of zombie apocalypse? Well, in this video, I'm going to try to convince you about the similarities between these two games and how, if you like one, you should definitely check out the other. We're going to be looking at 15 reasons why Hell Let Loose and DayZ are more similar than you think, and why I think you'll end up loving both of them. So the first thing is they're both on console. Now remember, these were developed for PC, and we should congratulate and we should support these developers that bring these PC games to console, because if we can get behind them and buy them and play them, the chances more PC games are going to come over to our beloved consoles. Next up, they're both shooters that have realistic weapons. Okay, so we can argue that DayZ is a survival game with shooting mechanics, and Hell Let Loose is a shooter where you have to survive. But whether it be the Kar 98 and the M1 Garand in Hell Let Loose, or something like the M4A1 or an AK in DayZ, their weapons have weight, they have kick, they feel visceral. Both games could be described as Marmite. You either love them or hate them. But what I'm going to be doing here with this video is encourage you to try both. But also, maybe if you haven't tried either of them, or maybe you've tried them and put them away, you should try them again. Both games have an incredibly steep learning curve. With DayZ, it wasn't probably until I was 10 hours in that something clicked, and I suddenly thought, oh, I get it now. I understand why you need to load bullets one by one into a magazine. And the same sort of thing happens with Hell Let Loose as well. You'll be running around, you'll be dying, you won't know why, and then all of a sudden you'll look at the map and you'll look at your role within a squad, you'll turn on your chat, you'll start talking to people, and you'll be like, aha, I understand what's going on. Both games were made by smaller developers. These aren't AAA titles. We've got Bohemia Interactive for DayZ and Black Matter for Hell Let Loose. So again, that's another reason to get behind them and support these games and give them a fair crack of the whip. Both of the games have different systems play than you would normally be used to. So DayZ, it's a kind of an adventure game, but then we have a survival mechanic. So we've got things like hunger, we've got thirst, we've got temperature, we've got to look after those things. With Hell Let Loose, you've got the meta game on top of the normal game, which is what the commanders play, in the fact that resource nodes have to be built so that your commanders can call in tanks, so they can call in airstrikes, so they can call in supply drops. They're more than what you would expect from the regular type of game. Both games need proper tactics and strategies for you to be successful at and to enjoy as well, and those tactics and strategies are way more important than twitch reflex skills, so you could argue that these games are better for the older gamer. Both DayZ and Hell Let Loose have a passionate player base, people who really care about these games, and maybe part of that is because they both have amazing ambient sound. In Hell Let Loose, it's the sound of the French countryside. In DayZ, it's the twittering of birds in Eastern Europe, and that sound really helps to suck you in, because in both games you spend an awful lot of time not doing what the games are kind of famous for, which is kind of shooting. When you watch DayZ streamers, a lot of the time they're going for PvP, and yet in DayZ, a lot of the time you're wandering around, you're looting, you're trying to survive, and then you might get into some gunfights. Hell Let Loose is a bit like that. You spend your time wandering around, finding your squad, getting into position, and then you spend a little bit of time shooting. Both games are set in specific eras and really work on that. So Hell Let Loose, obviously World War II. DayZ, Eastern Europe, Soviet Cold War, and you really feel like you're there with the level of detail that's gone into the maps and the things that are there, the furniture around, things like the vehicles and the buildings. interactions. This is where we get serious now. This is where both games take your gaming experience to the next level. We all know that interactions in DayZ, whether that be with random players that you meet or with friends as you're playing, they make the game so much more fun. And so much more exciting. And the same goes for Hell Let Loose, because when you turn on that chat, when you start talking to your squad mates, or even you're a squad leader and start talking to your commander and the other squad leaders, all of a sudden you feel like you're there. You're part of something bigger, and the game just becomes so much better. One of the most common things between these two games is the level of work that's gone into the maps. You'll know probably with DayZ that a lot of it is based on northern Czech Republic, and there's real towns and villages you can visit there that are the same towns and villages that you see in DayZ. Well, in Hell Let Loose, all of the maps are based on satellite imagery of those areas from France, from Normandy. And that's why sometimes when you'll see maps in Chernish, you'll be walking around Chernish in DayZ, you'll be walking around the maps in Hell Let Loose. Sometimes you think, well, they're a bit boring, these. That's just a hedge and that's just a farmhouse. But that's because that's how they really were. That's why these games are so of their place, because the people who've made these maps are dedicated to making them realistic, which leads to probably one of the most important things is the immersion you feel. You feel like you're there. You feel in Hell Let Loose like you're in Company of Heroes. You feel like you're in Saving Private Ryan. There's nothing quite like it. DayZ as well. When you're wandering around on a map and then you hear the zombies or you hear another player and then you've got the wind coming in and maybe it starts raining. You feel like you're there in Chernish, in Eastern Europe. And probably one of the most important things is that both of these games are what I would call a forever game. There's not going to be a new DayZ coming out every year. There's not going to be a new Hell Let Loose. We have the game and the developers will carry on developing it. So we can look forward to playing these games for many years to come. So all this time we have to put in to develop the skills to be successful at these games, we can carry on using. So there we go, 15 reasons why Hell Let Loose and DayZ are more similar than you think. And hopefully, if you're a fan of DayZ, you'll check out Hell Let Loose. If you're a fan of Hell Let Loose, you'll check out DayZ. And maybe, if you haven't played either, this video will spur you on to give them a go. Anyway, that's enough of me. What do you think? Put your questions and comments down below, and I will, of course, see you again soon.